a special guest with us today. Accessible Web owner, co-founder Peter Jewett is going to be presenting on steps to becoming a confidently accessible agency. Before I hand it over to Peter, I'll just cover a few housekeeping items. The first of which is this webinar is being recorded, and that'll be available via an email if you registered after the session. Otherwise, you can always find it on our YouTube channel. We're streaming live there as well, so head on over and give us a like and subscribe while you're there. Second item is we will be using the Zoom chat and Q&A for audience engagement and questions. So any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, questions, go ahead and drop them in there, and we will take those at the end of the presentation. And also keep an eye out on the chat for a one-time coupon code for a 1-month trial of our RAMP software. And that's it from me. Peter, I'll hand it over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Heather. I'm gonna suggest I'm gonna suggest that folks throw their favorite NFL team in the chat as well, since we're in the thick of playoffs, and I'm pretty sure our New England Patriots here are gonna go to the Super Bowl. So if you've got a favorite football team, throw in the chat, and then we can maybe argue after my presentation about who's the best. All right. I'm going to share my screen here. Cool. There we go. All right. Thank you for joining for our weekly Thursday webinar. I'm Peter Jewett, the founder of Accessible Web and CEO. Today, we are going to talk about how agencies partner with Accessible Web to become accessibility leaders. So, my secondary title here is From Accessibility Curious to Accessibility Confident. All right, so accessibility has come a long way since we started this company back in 2016. It was pretty early back then. Well, maybe early for us. Accessibility as a practice has been around forever. But with all the accessibility deadlines coming, ADA lawsuits accelerating, clients asking for this for various reasons. Just everything is accelerating, and it's no longer just a nice to have. It's no longer something that you can waffle about. It's a client expectation. It's part of your job as an agency, as your client's web digital partner, to be a leader. So agencies aren't just being asked, how do we comply? But your clients are really wanting to know how you should do this the right way, how you can do this most efficiently. They're really looking for you as their agency to lead on this. In most agencies, you obviously are in this business because you want to help your customers. Um, that is your role. You are the valued voice at the table about how to do the web properly. But what we found is, a lot of agencies, they want to help, but they're stuck. And, you know, the blocker isn't about effort or values. It's about uncertainty. It's about lack of structure. It can be about, worrying about legal liability, if you don't do this correctly. So, common things that we're hearing from agencies, as they initially reach out to us is they're unsure of the current accessibility status. Where is this website at? Am I doing this right? Is my approach correct? Am I going to get sued by putting an accessibility page on my website when things aren't perfect? They're afraid of over or under promising. And again, a lot of this can be tied to the liability side of this part of the web practice. They don't have any process yet. They don't know how to move through a website build and implement accessibility. They don't know how to sell accessibility. They don't know how to remediate websites that they built that are already in their portfolio. And then it can also just be really hard to explain accessibility to clients. What is WCAG? Why are overlays not a great solution? How does somebody that can't use a mouse navigate the web. So there's just a lot to unpack here, and it can just feel overwhelming. And this is one of those situations where you kind of have decision paralysis. There's just so much you don't know how to even get started. We believe at Accessible Web that confidence comes from structure. So our services, our software, our company, especially how we work with agencies, it's built to help you create that structure. We want to help you know where you stand, where your websites stand that are in your portfolio, where your internal skill sets might be more than sufficient to add this in, or where your internal staff skill sets might need to be leveled up a bit to make this work. That kind of gets into building literacy. We want to help you understand how to talk about accessibility confidently, how to implement accessibility confidently. And we want to help you document your work. So this practice is nice, accessibility is nice because there's always more work to do. And using our platform, using our services, we can help you to document exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, what results it's having. And documenting your work results in being able to communicate clearly with your clients what you're doing, what impact it's having. So confidence comes from structure. We want to help you create a repeatable process. We want to help you create a business model so that you can implement accessibility confidently. So step one here, it's like anything. I'm always drawing comparisons to search engine optimization. But the first thing you need to do is you need to establish a baseline. So you have a whole, if you're an agency, you've been in business for a minute, presumably you have a portfolio of varying sizes. We've talked to clients that have 5 websites they're working with. We've talked to clients that have 500 websites they're working with. But the number one thing you got to do is you need to understand where you stand. You need to get that baseline, set that foundation. You can't improve what you can't measure. So what you need as an agency, you need a clear baseline. You need a visibility into where the gaps are in your portfolio, in the websites that you're managing, that you're building. You need actionable issues to fix. Like, where do you even get started? What can you do today to help start making progress on these websites? And then you need a way to track the progress. There's going to be a lot of work to do. That's kind of just the gift and the curse of accessibility. I would argue more so a gift. There's a lot of work to do on your existing websites, on new websites you're building. If you're an agency and there's work to do, that means billable hours, that means revenue. And you need to be able to track that progress so that you can show the improvements, you can show that you are approaching this in a organized manner that is prioritized. And then you need to be able to show your customers that this isn't just a black hole of never-ending work, but that you are actually hitting different milestones and making progress. Ramp's a good fit because we have an accessibility statement system and issue reporting. So that's kind of the number one thing you should put on your client's website is an accessibility page with an accessibility statement and the ability for your clients, users, customers to report accessibility issues that they might be encountering, and then training for your clients so that when they receive those issues, they know how to provide accommodations and how to remediate the issues, ideally as rapidly as possible. Our system has automated scans. So this is one of the greatest pieces of our platform for an agency is you can load up a website and in 5 minutes you'll start to see pages scanning, probably less than 5 minutes, you'll start to see automated scores within a few hours. It can, depending on the size of the website, it can take an hour, maybe 4 to 6 hours max. But you can set up Ramp and you can come in the next morning, make a cup of coffee and know exactly what the accessibility score is and have what you need to put together an initial accessibility proposal. Beyond that, we have the ability to scope and track manual WCAG audits. Everything that we uncover for issues in Ramp, every failure that we find, We have clear breakdowns of what the issue is. What's the WCAG success criteria that failed? Why does it matter? And then how do you fix it? And then we've got compliance mapping. So the nice thing here is that most of the laws, almost all of the accessibility laws that your clients are asking about, they all point to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG. But your clients want to know that you're covering them for ADA or AODA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, or the European Accessibility Act. Those are the three acronyms: ADA, AODA, and EAA. Those are typically what your clients are coming to you for. And so we've layered in some compliance checklists in RAMP so that you can show your clients you're making progress towards being compliant with those laws. And then this is something that I really can't understate. This isn't a project. This isn't a one-time thing. It's ongoing. And so RAMP is built for ongoing monitoring so that you can quickly get your clients in a defensible position, help them quickly upgrade their websites to be accessible. But like anything on the web, a website's typically pretty dynamic. Plugins are changing. Your WordPress core is being updated and changing. Clients are making updates. You're getting in there, adding new landing pages or tweaking the product details page. So anyway, getting to an accessible spot is one thing, but then maintaining accessibility through automated monitoring and ongoing work is the next piece, and RAMP can help you with that as well. Step number two is we have everything built to learn while you work. So once you get started, you don't have to sit down and go to a quiet office, in your building and just put your head down and read WCAG. We don't believe that's very effective way to learn this. The best way to learn accessibility is to work on accessibility. So the reality for your agency is your teams are probably slammed right now. If you sit in a meeting and you say, "Hey, who wants to be the one to learn WCAG?" And be the one person that is responsible for accessibility, probably you're not going to get a ton of folks raising their hand. Hopefully, you get someone. But our approach is let's have everybody doing this. Accessibility can't live with one person. With our tool, accessibility is something that your team can be learning while they're billing and upgrading clients' websites. So we have plain language issue explanations. Anyone can get into RAMP and start making progress if they know, content, HTML, how to do design work, CSS. We have remediation guidance for every issue we uncover. And then we also have a shared dashboard that lets your designers, developers, content teams, your clients, everyone can come together, collaborate, see the progress being made, and kind of contribute in their respective roles on a website. And then step three is turn the work into proof. So as you're doing this work, RAMP helps you capture the documentation to show your clients what you're working on. So documentation matters because it builds internal confidence. You can see, hey, look, I'm checking these boxes off. I'm making progress. I'm turning to-do status tasks into completed tasks. It supports client conversations. You can open up a RAMP and you can show them what you've been working on. You can explain to them why this was where you started, explain to them what's next. Documentation helps protect against legal risk. So having all of the accessibility work in one place shows that you're making a good faith effort towards improving your accessibility. And it's having a paper trail is just so important if you do run into issues in the future. We've seen this just time and time again. And then it makes accessibility sellable. So as you get more comfortable, as you're showing the kind of initial wave of work that you've done on a website, having the documentation showing a client that, hey, in phase one, we created an accessibility page, we created the feedback mechanism, we trained your support team, we fixed your automated issues and got up to 100 of 100 automated score. This is a great spot. You can see the proof right here. Now let's take the next step and do a manual WCAG audit. So as you start to make progress, you're going to find this snowballs, and your clients get excited about this. And if you can show them what you've done, they're probably going to be eager to have you do more. So RAMP for features, we have centralized remediation task and issue tracking. You can see your progress. You can create accessibility statements, and we can even help support you with VPAT, and accessibility conformance report creation. Step 4 is communicating clearly. Um, what clients want with this is a new area. This is an area they're nervous about. Uh, they're coming to you because they don't want to get sued, because they want to make sure their clients, sorry, make sure their customers, their website users are having a great experience. Um, and so this is where you can really differentiate yourself is by how you communicate. So don't promise compliance, but lead responsibly. Be a partner for your clients. They want to hear honesty, they want structure, they want to see progress, and they want to feel like you know what you're doing. That's what partnership really is helping drive the conversations when your clients have questions and have that unknown. You are the one that's there to help them. And agencies can win with RAMP by selling process, not perfection, right? This is not a one-time thing that you can do and then be done with. You could certainly do a one-time engagement and then, maybe slow it down and improve over time. But this isn't about getting to 100% and being done. Your accessibility is perfect. And with RAMP, you can show that progress over time. You can show them what you're working on, what you're planning to work on next. And with graphs and charts and scores, they'll be able to see that progress. And then the other big tip here is always be transparent about scope. Like I said earlier, there's a ton of work to do here. Um, and the reality is clients have a finite budget. You as an agency have a finite amount of time, and accessibility is one of many, many things you're probably working on. But be transparent about what you're going to tackle first, to make the biggest impact and what your plan is. And just don't promise full compliance overnight. That's not a thing. This is something you need to be chipping away at, and you need to figure out how to build it into the list of other priorities on these websites that you own and manage. All right. Can't do a presentation without dumping on overlays. So why serious agencies don't rely on accessibility overlays. We see this time and time again. I don't understand why an agency would go with an overlay solution. The problem here is there's weak legal defensibility. Chiana's on this call with me. We see this all the time where customers come to us after having an overlay and they've gotten sued. And then they might get some support from the company, but from the overlay company, but is not allowed in the settlement, is what we see all the time. So more and more overlays are not being accepted as a ADA compliant solution. So that's the number one thing. Limited real accessibility improvement. These overlays look cool if you're a layperson and you don't use assistive technology. Oh, wow, look, I can click this button and change the colors and zoom up. But the reality is people with disabilities have their own assistive technology built into their phone, their computer, their browser, that's configured the way they want it. They don't want to visit a website and open up an icon and use this toolbar. That's just not fair. It's asking them to jump through additional hoops to use your website. Give them a great experience by doing this correctly. Um, it can put you in a risky advisory position. No one wants to recommend something, and then your client gets sued, and then you're sitting there saying, "Oh, well, I guess maybe we should try this other thing." At Accessible Web, we can help you get into a very defensible legal position if you follow our recommendations. Don't take the risk. Just do this correctly from the ground up. And when you end up in these long-term or these risky positions, when your client gets sued because of something you've recommended, it undermines the long-term trust. It means they're not going to come to you potentially next time they have a question, whether it's about digital marketing or AI or analytics, right? So do this right the first time. We have a ton of agencies that are working with us having great success. So agencies choose Ramp instead because the accessibility work is done correctly, it's documented, it's defensible. Um, Agencies remain the trusted web experts. You're not just installing this magical fixie accessibility tool. It allows you to have conversations with your customers, just like you do in other areas at your agency, about why you're doing this work, how you're doing it, what impact it's having for your customers. There's impact on SEO and usability. So it just is another layer to help you, the agency, be the expert. Like, why would you give up that expertise to just an automated tool just to save some dollars and not make money doing the billable work? And we can help you implement real fixes in your design, in your code, in your content. We can help you do it correctly from the ground up when you're building a new website. And progress, this is a frequent theme I'm hitting on here, but you can see the progress over time with Ramp. You can show the customers what you're working on, and there's always more work to do next to improve the accessibility. So don't use overlays, use a tool, even if it's not accessible web, use a tool that's going to help you to actually implement WCAG and web accessibility best practices in your design, in your code, in your content. There's no magic shortcuts here. All right. Accessible Web. We are agency friendly by design. We spun this startup out of our agency. So yeah, definitely consider us if you're trying to dip your toe in. Many agencies use Ramp internally first. You don't have to immediately introduce this to your client. Gianna, myself, we have various team members. We can just reach out to us and we're happy to set up an instance of Ramp. We're happy to configure it with any website or websites you have in your portfolio. Um, and we can get it all set up. We can show you how to sell this to your customer. We can show you what to do first. Um, and yeah, accessibility is taught in real workflows with our tool. We support training. We turn remediation into billable hours. Uh, Services can backstop complex needs that your clients have, like WCAG audits. So beyond the software, we have a bunch of services. We can set up Ramp to manage multiple organizations that you might be servicing. There's a lot of flexibility in how we manage your clients and manage your portfolio. The repeatable workflows, you need to get through the first project, but after that, you're going to have a path, a project template that you can use over and over and over again. Ramp gives you clear deliverables. We have ongoing monitoring. And there's multiple ways to integrate into your agency model. So the two main paths agencies take are some agencies onboard into Ramp. They pay for it themselves. They use it behind the scenes to generate billable hours for their customers. They use it as an internal tool to make sure they're doing accessibility correctly. The second path that a lot of agencies take is we have a revenue share agreement, and they might use their Ramp account to do a preliminary scan of a website, get their clients interested, and then if they're part of our, if your agency is part of our partnership agreement, you send the client to sign up for Ramp. You get credit for that, and then you get a percentage of their revenue forever as long as they're using the tool. So more and more, that's the path people are taking. They get a share of the profits, and then you, the agency, are still the one that's in Ramp doing the work and using the tool to support your client. I'm going to skip this. I just hit on it already, but we have software, we have services, we have everything you need to implement accessibility confidently. So definitely get in touch with us. We are here to partner with you. We are not here to replace you. We want to make your agency an accessibility leader, so that you can be confidently offering this to your clients. And finally, your next step doesn't have to be huge. Let's get over the decision paralysis. There is a lot to learn, but it's progress over perfection. Get in touch with us. We can get you set up in Ramp. You can onboard yourself, but we're happy to give you some guided onboarding. Ask questions, build confidence, start working on this one task at a time, and you're going to be amazed by how quickly you can make progress partnering up with Accessible Web. So we're here to support you. Thanks for joining, and I'll turn it over to discussion time.
Awesome. Thank you,
Awesome.
Peter.
Thank you so much. Yeah, those were some solid, actionable steps that agencies could start taking today to build their confidence.
Awesome. So if anybody has any questions for the Q&A portion of this webinar, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A section or in chat, and I can read those out here. So we have one question already. As an agency, there's a fear that if we claim to be accessible and a client finds one mistake, our credibility is shot. How do we market accessibility as a service while being honest about the progress or perfection reality?
So we should not be thinking about accessibility as this gotcha, where someone finds a problem and that's a failure. Someone finding an accessibility problem is an opportunity for you to remediate that issue. So just do a 180 and flip this expectation, flip this thought process the other way around. And if someone finds a problem, it might be something you haven't fixed yet, you haven't addressed yet, right? And it's just an opportunity to make your website better. If someone came to you and they said, "Hey, I'm trying to buy an item on your e-commerce site, but I can't see the shipping before I get to the spot where I put my credit card in," you wouldn't say, "Oh, shoot, we can't build any more e-commerce sites. We're done," right? You'd say, "Oh, wow, that does make a lot of sense. Let's go fix this." So so just take the feedback, and implement it. That's part of what the user tickets functionality is built into our platform for. And then the other piece is take a tiered approach to accessibility. So in Ramp, we have a compliance center. It's set up so it's got a checklist of things to complete in Ramp to be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, European Accessibility Act. It's got a checklist. All the checklists are relatively similar. But our first step is always getting an accessibility page in place, getting an accessibility statement on it with a feedback mechanism. Next thing we recommend is doing the automated accessibility work. So our system scans with Axe Core. It creates you a nice prioritized aggregated list of what to fix first. And then you start to get into manual auditing. So anyway, take it in steps.
Mhm.
You don't have to bite this off all at once. If things are coming up that people are flagging as accessibility issues, that is awesome. That it is people engaging with the accessibility, engaging with you, and as an opportunity for you to, they're giving you an issue. Now you have one more thing to go and fix on behalf of your clients and that you can make better for their customers and end users.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's Heather here. I would add one more layer to your tiered approach, which is if you do know it's something that's been reported that might take a little while to remediate, be prepared to offer an accommodation. If you've been at our webinars before, you've probably heard me say this a whole bunch, and I'm not suggesting that it's a substitute for fixing the underlying issues, but be knowledgeable about the provision of accommodations and be prepared to make that offer to help someone either complete a task or get access to the information that they need in an accessible way while you're working on it. Still a great opportunity to say thank you for bringing this to our attention. What would best meet your needs in the moment? We're prepared to help you out with that. That will gain you a lot of grace.
Yes, very important there. Yeah, you got to kind of offer that good customer experience at every point. All right, we have another question here, which is how do we handle a client who insists on a design feature like low contrast text or auto playing video that we know breaks compliance? How do we document that disagreement to protect the agency?
What you would do here is in Ramp, there's remediation tasks. You would presumably flag like color contrast, for example, is something that Axe Core will catch in a lot of circumstances. From there will be a remediation task that gets created in Ramp, a remediation task, or the tasks are all the things that need to be fixed. What you would do here is you could document that task and you could just make it an exception, you could put it in progress, and you can put a note on the task in Ramp that says, client stubbornly refuses to probably write something nice, but client refuses to acknowledge that this is an accessibility issue. Um, anyway, you can put notes in the tasks to mark them as something the client's insisting on doing. And I think too, we can help you to document why it's important. If you need that backup, if you need that ammo, this is where our whole team loves having these conversations. There's no reason to have an auto playing video, right? So we can have these conversations. We have them internally all the time as we work on clients' websites and review the different things going on in Ramp. So anyway, if you need help backing it up, backing up your stance, or if you have questions about an accessibility
Yep.
stance, we're available to help. And if your client really, really insists on it, then you can document it in Ramp. But if you have a client that's continuously insisting on breaking accessibility rules and best practices, might be just best to move on to another client that wants to do this correctly. And yeah, make a note that the client does not want accessibility. Get it in writing, get it in email so that inevitably, shouldn't say inevitably, but if in the future they do potentially run into a legal issue, this is the type of thing we see in demand letters when they come in, is these very nuanced accessibility issues. So when they do get a demand letter, hopefully you have it in writing that you brought it up and they said, no, we're going to ignore this.
Yeah. I am starting my own business where my target audience clients are entrepreneurs and event hosts. That said, I could be working with many clients. Is this a business model slash structure that Ramp can support?
Absolutely. We have clients that have hundreds of websites in Ramp. We have clients that have a few different websites in Ramp. So assuming you're starting a business where these entrepreneurs and event hosts have websites, that would be a prerequisite, I think, to use our web accessibility tool.
Yeah.
Websites or apps, or even if you have an event software that you're branding, that's something we've seen a few times. We've worked with companies like that where they do event ticketing and they have different branded versions of their software, and they want to make sure that the different instances that are rolled out in the web are staying accessible. Um, so yes, Ramp can help you to organize websites, help you to organize your clients' organizations and teams, so that folks know what they're working on. They only have visibility into what's relevant to them. So there's a lot of flexibility built intentionally into Ramp, because, like I said earlier, we spun this out of an agency, where our number one goal when we first started building our tools was to have something that would work for these various use cases that we saw as an agency.
Yeah. Okay. Um, any tips for an agency that already has developed websites, and now wants to broach the accessibility conversation for the first time? This is usually a point of anxiety, when you know that you may not have been doing things correctly in the past and you want to start having that conversation with those clients.
Yeah, I mean, this is the sooner the better is kind
Hmm.
of my stance on this. Like I discovered accessibility at my agency in 2016, and yeah, it was awkward then. And now we're 10 years later. Um, and so anyway, the longer you don't say anything, the more awkward the conversation's going to be. It's like any awkward conversation, you probably just need to deal with it. But the nice thing about Ramp is that you can put the websites into Ramp. You can get some immediate steps that you can do to make improvements. And ideally, like, have a conversation with your customer before they're under duress. And the thing you don't want to do is, like, and this gets into trust that I kind of mentioned, being a leader. The thing you don't want to do is wait until your client has a demand letter and now they're paying their own lawyer $10,000. They're paying the plaintiff's lawyer
Mm.
$15,000. They're paying a plaintiff $5,000 Now they have this unexpected $25,000 expense. And guess what? After they've paid all that, there's definitely, shouldn't say definitely, there's typically no money left for the agency to actually remediate the work. So the best thing you can do as the agency is help them get ahead of this,
Yep.
do it early. You are still, even though it's been a long time, you are still in a spot where you can say, hey, client, this wasn't something we were thinking about when we built your website a couple years ago, but we're thinking about it now, and we want you to take this seriously. The first thing I did at my agency that I previously was operating was when I found web accessibility, I sent a letter out of our proposal system that said, we are your agency. You trust us to advise you on best practices, and we strongly feel that ADA compliance is something that you need to be thinking about because you're running the risk of
Yeah.
lawsuits and losing business and incurring these surprise expenses if you don't fix this. So we have some ways to work with you. Um, Let us know if you'd like to do a webinar, if you'd like to attend a webinar. So I sent this letter out of our proposal system with the ability to initial, yes, I'm interested in attending a webinar and learning more. No, I understand the risk, but I'm not interested in making my website accessible. And
Yeah.
from that list, we probably had about a third of our clients. We had about 200 clients at the time. We had about a third of our clients that said, yes, I'm interested. We had a few webinars, I think 4 webinars over the course of 2 weeks to make sure folks could attend. Accessible Web is happy to co-present webinars with your agency if that's something helpful. And then following the webinar, what I did, I was doing sales back then, and very active with all the clients. So following the webinar, I sent an email and I scheduled individual one-on-one conversations with each one of the clients
Yep.
to talk about where their website was in the life cycle, what their budgets look like, what their other website and digital goals were over the next year or two. And then from there, we could come up with a plan that worked for them to build a new website from scratch that was accessible. Some clients we rethemed. If it was a more recent website, they liked the content, they liked the design. We did rethemes, just update the WordPress theme to be accessible and then make a run through the content. But that avoided a lot of like the design conversations about totally like rebuilding a site from scratch. And then other websites, we basically went with more of a support plan where we were
Okay.
implementing accessibility on a month by month basis. So anyway, have the
Yeah.
conversation, get it out in the open, document your clients saying, yes, I'm interested or no, I'm not interested on all new proposals that you're sending out for website design or for websites you're hosting. Make sure you have a line item where they're paying for accessibility support or they're declining it, so you're covered there. Encourage them to buy it. Ideally, roll it into existing offerings so it's not an additional thing they need to pay for. Um, and then the final thing I'll say on this too is as an agency, one of the baselines that we implemented was that every website that we launched, even if the client did not pay extra for accessibility, if they declined full WCAG 2.2 AA conformance, because there are additional costs to do full WCAG conformance. So if they declined, full WCAG conformance, full ADA compliance. We used RAMP, and the agency continues to do it today. Use RAMP on every website we build to make sure we're launching with 100 of 100 automated accessibility score and an accessibility page. So we kind of hit those first 2 line items in RAMP. That puts us in a defensible position where we can say, hey, client, we implemented accessibility best practices. We have the website in a place that if you're ready to go into full ADA compliance and WCAG conformance, we can take the next steps. But it basically just made it so that we were implementing the cost-effective accessibility features that we could within their existing budget. With RAMP, it's very cost-effective to fix those automated issues, especially if you're doing it as you build. Um,
Yep.
So anyway, long answer, but have the conversation and definitely try to figure out what you can do to cover your basis on any new websites you are building.
Yeah, I think this webinar and this conversation is timely too, because coming into 2026 is a good transition point to begin those conversations. If you are not aware, we have incoming Title II regulations related to accessibility. So if any of your clients take public money in any way, state, federal money, then they are going to be falling under some strengthened accessibility requirements. These requirements and standards have been in place for a while, but they're going to see this more frequently in the procurement process. And so it's a good idea to get ahead of these conversations now and to offer that the support and strategy proactively there. And we've seen this kind of year over year. There's more regulation and solidification of regulation, both on state, federal, and international levels. So it's a good timely conversation to have as soon as you can. All right. Thank you so much for today's presentation, Peter. I think that is all the questions we currently have. I know we're a little over time, so thank you for anybody who stayed after with us here. We do this every Thursday, so please join us for another topic next Thursday. We also have past webinars available on YouTube and on our website, and there's a library, I believe, of previous agency-focused webinars. So if you're interested in diving into this conversation more, please either reach out to us directly on our website or check out those past webinars, and feel free to join us again next week. We would love to have you here, and bring any questions that come up in the meantime. Thank you so
Thanks
much,
all.
everyone.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Gianna. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.